218 pounds, he is the great Greg Gagne.
Hey, what's up? Man, I forgot to play the intro, but no intro needed because we have Mr. Greg Gagne here. We're live.
Where's TA?
Where's TA at? Jeez, we're missing him again. What's going on?
Well, he called early today just to warn us or warn me, and I guess I forgot to pass it on to you.
No, you told me. You told me. So
why did you go along with the story?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was setting you up for a big one here, and you ruined it. So
it went over my head.
Tom already knew, but he had to take his wife up to Duke University for an appointment, so he couldn't make it today. And there goes I was setting you up for a good one there and make you really look good.
I swung and I missed.
Yeah, swung and missed, man. That was straight three.
Straight down the middle, too. It was right down the middle. I could have hit it. But, hey, we got a lot to hit on today.
That head's bald. I'm going to put the hat on.
All right. Yes. Play a little ball. We're live here on fourhorsemannetwork.com. And so check it out. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Hit that like button. Get the word out about us. And, spread the word. We want to get this more traction going with this show. And we have our own YouTube channel as well now. Again, we're back on our own YouTube channel. Just type in Magnum TA Greg Gagne on YouTube, and that channel should pop up. I put a whole bunch of clips from last week up from Greg talking about Vern slapping Ric Flair. We have Vern's training ability and all that stuff. Lots of good clips that you can check out on the channel. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe on that. We need to get some hours to monetize it again. So help us out in that regard. Greg, somebody's asking already, the boss, not Magnum, but a different boss. How's the recovery going?
Horrible.
Is it? Uh-oh.
Well, it's not too good. I mean, I went in yesterday to see the doctor, and I thought I was going to get cleared. And they don't want me to do any steps yet unless they have 2 railings on them.
Uh-huh.
And I'm living at my daughter's place right now, and they've been out of town, but they're coming back, and I got to get out. I'm losing my mind.
Oh, they're crazy.
But he said, as far as the surgery went, everything looks good. Even though I had that one big fall down the stairs.
What, you fell down the stairs?
Did I tell you that one?
No, you took a bump?
Oh, Christ, a dandy. This was only 2 weeks after the surgery.
What?
And I was over at my daughter's house, and they were gone, and I couldn't find their dog.
Uh-huh.
They got this two-year-old Malamute. You know, he's a sled dog. He's strong. It's crap. Oh. And he's a pup, and they have the collar for him. And I looked out in the yard, and I couldn't find him.
Really?
And I said, well, what the? He can't get out. And I'm calling him. He's nothing. So I go up their stairs, and they're in a kind of an older house, and it's got spiral staircase up.
Yeah.
So they're narrow on one side and wide on the other, but no railing.
Yeah.
And I looked all over the house. I couldn't find him. For some reason, I went up the stairs. And as I did, I said, I'm not doing too bad. So I went to the top. I looked in. He was laying on their bed.
Oh.
And when I turned around, I hit the short side. My feet went up, and I went right down 15 stairs. This
is right after surgery?
2 weeks after the surgery.
My God, Greg. Jeez.
I know. So I called the doctor, and I had to go get some x-rays and send them over to him. And he said it looked good. And then when I went in, he said, no, it looks great. He said, but stay off those stairs.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
Everywhere I go, we're trying to look for a new townhouse. It's got stairs.
Yeah.
And then I found a place 1 level, but where it is, it's so far out, and everybody's real close. You have no yard, and I can't live like that.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Greg, you can come move in with me. I'm on the first floor of an apartment, and so no stairs. Pittsburgh. You can.
What am I going to do with Laura? Leave her back here?
Well, you guys can.
She can share a room with you, right?
Yeah, I have.
There you go.
I have an office, but I can turn it into a bedroom for you guys if you want, and then,
I'll run that by her. She'd probably just rather move in with you.
Right. I just have a cat. That's it. Razor. That's it.
You'll be fine. Put the cat in with me.
Yep. There we go. So,
somebody say something there, but I better not say it.
You better not, Greg. CJ Ortiz says, CG Ortiz, Charlie, he says, hi, Greg and Dom. Great to see you this Friday. Hope you're both doing well and had a great week. Yes.
Well, thank you. Who's that from?
Charlie. He's
Charlie. Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it. Tell all your friends to tune in.
Yeah, he says, hope the recovery is going well and the pain is improving. So.
Oh, the pain. We just got back from a hike, and I have to wear this vest all the time now.
Oh, really?
And he wouldn't release me from going off one floor until July 8th when I go back and see him.
July 8th?
Yeah. So it's been, that'll be, God, almost 3 months.
Holy smokes.
But it's, he said, Greg, this is a 6 months, the pain will maybe go away. Mm-hmm. One day you wake up, no pain, but then you have 6 months of recovery after that. So it's a year deal.
Oh my gosh.
He said, you look like you're taller. And I said, well, that's because I've lost 14 pounds.
Did you really?
I went from 192 to 178. I haven't been that low since high school.
Holy smoke. How tall are you? Are you 6'1", 6'2"?
Well, I used to be just under 6'1". I've shrunk a little bit, about 5'11" and a half.
Oh, okay.
But the doctor said, God, you look taller. And I said, well, that's those long rods you put in my back.
Yeah.
He said, you're standing up straighter. I said, I can't bend.
I can't. That's it.
You put them in there. And he showed me all the screws in there. And I know Hulk, I think he's had about 10 or 12 of these.
Yeah, he's had a lot.
Well, what happens is when they put these rods in and they put the screws in, then the vertebrae above it, that'll go.
Right.
And the last time they went in, when they opened my back up, they said, oh my God, you had one all blown out and a couple others that were not very good. So they removed all the stuff they put in and re-put new stuff. And here we are.
Here you are. Well, so I used to talk to Terry Funk on the phone and he would tell me how much pain he would have, because he had a hernia, basically.
Oh, God, yeah, I had those.
Dealing with hernias and stuff like that. But he also mentioned too, how you kind of just get used to the pain after a while.
You do, but it's on the back, the pain gets so bad. I couldn't even stand up straight. When I walked in, I was all bent over for my first surgery. And it is they are so painful. Hernia you can get through. You shouldn't. You should let them do that. I've had 2 hernias.
Really?
Yeah. I've had them both surgical.
Yeah.
When you look at the wrestlers and what we go through, the surgeries we all have.
Yeah.
God, it's just, it's unbearable at times.
Oh my God.
I start with torn ligaments in one ankle, then both knees, cartilage replacement, double hernia, and the back surgery, 3 broken noses.
3 broken noses.
Yeah.
Dang.
Oh shit. It started in Peoria, Illinois. We were wrestling Bockwinkel and Stevens. And Heenan had interfered in the match, and the match had ended. And somebody threw a chair at him, and he ducked, and it hit me right on the bridge of the nose.
The Heenan
the chair. Heenan ducked, and the chair.
Heenan ducked.
Hit me right on the nose, and it just went right over to the side.
Oh my God!
So I went in the next day, and they put you in a chair and get your feet up, and they got this. It's like a little horseshoe with a long stem on it, and they stick it up your nose.
Yeah.
Then he put his foot on my chair between my legs, and then he starts till it snaps back into place.
Oh man.
So I got it back into place. The next night I had to wrestle, and I was wrestling Heenan up in Duluth, Minnesota. And I threw him into the turnbuckle, and he turned his back to me. So I went to grab him, and he threw his head back and broke my nose again. Again. So the next day I got to go back in. The same freaking thing. Then we go to Denver. We got a big match in Denver, and I'm good. And Ray Stevens, 2 minutes into the match, bam, right in the freaking nose. Over it went. We wrestled about 35 minutes that night in that altitude, trying to breathe with that nose up. Now it's all bent. So had to go back the third time. Same old treatment. And the doctor says, will you please take some time off? I said, it doesn't make a difference if I take time off or not. They're going to go after my nose. They all know it was broke, no matter when I get in the ring.
And isn't it? It's much more easy to break after you break it once, right?
Oh,
It's
shit. Yeah. But still, it just, it just,
yeah.
a lot of fun.
How was working with Heenan in the ring?
Well, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the weasel.
You're right.
And he gave the people what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a great wrestler.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. How was
he was great at getting you off balance.
Yeah.
He would be talking in that ring and he would be, he'd get you so freaking mad.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'd go to get him and he'd duck under the rope.
Yeah.
And then he'd get the referee on your ass somehow. And then when you're at the referee, he'll sneak in and give you a shot and then run and hide again. But as for a performer, he was one of the best.
Oh yeah.
And I would say, they talk about all these great managers. There was nobody like him.
No.
Because he could talk it and he could walk it. And he could do it in the ring. He gave the people what they wanted.
Well, I just read an old post. There's a wrestling account that posts like historic stuff from like legends and stuff like that, and fun pictures and stuff that are really, really cool. And he happened to share like a quote from Heenan. It might have been from his book, or I don't know exactly where it came from, but he was talking about like it was like in 2003 or 4 or something. So that's what made me think it was his book. But he ended up saying how like wrestlers don't do certain aspects of what's key to storytelling anymore. And this was in 2004 or something. And he's like, so much of the focus gets put on the referee now. And he was mentioning too, how he would just do simple things like you were just saying, like he'd pull somebody's hair, or like you could see him blatantly arguing with the referee and making big faces and big expressions, and then like going outside of the ring and arguing and doing all that little stuff, and you can get the crowd riled up just by doing simple things like that instead of
simple little things. And he was one of the greatest interviewers of all time.
Yeah.
And he would pick out your little idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
And he would focus on his interview on those.
Yeah.
I'm wrestling Bockwinkel for a title.
Yeah.
And I'd been down in Florida for a couple of weeks. And I was training pretty hard down there and getting ready for the match, plus it was a vacation, a little break.
Right.
And I wanted to really be ready when I got back. So Heenan found out that I was down in Florida. So in his interview, he says to Nick Bockwinkel, he says, "Nick, there's nothing to worry about." Marty O'Neill's the announcer. And Marty says, "Well, what do you mean he has nothing to worry about? I've seen Greg Gagne and he can handle himself pretty well, and he's been coached very well, and he's got a great record here, and I think he's going to give you all you can handle." Yeah, Marty, you don't get it. He says the guy was running in the sand down there, and those skinny little legs of his, all of a sudden, he got stuck in the sand and he couldn't get out. And I have thin legs, and he'd focus on an individual's idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
Or their flaws.
Yeah.
Oh God, he'd get you hot. He could work guys up. He's in a car with oh God, who was it with? Oh, we'll say Ray Stevens and him, no, it wasn't Ray Stevens driving. It was Angela Mosca.
Oh, okay.
And Angela's kind of a hothead.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And the guy in the back was the big K, Stan Kowalski. And Bobby had got a plastic bag with a fresh dog turd in it.
Oh my God.
Right. So they're drinking, we have a few beers in the car, and Stan's in the back. He's pretty quiet, drinking away. And all of a sudden, Bobby would open the bag and kind of push it. And Mosca, he said, "That's it." And Stan's back there just kind of dozing. He said, "That damn Kowalski back there keeps farting." "Oh, Jesus." Bob, "Open your window." So he'd open the window, they go a few more miles and it was pretty calm again. Bobby would do it again, blow it over by miles. Take that right. I can't take. What did they get that? Pull him out of the car. If he doesn't knock it off, I'm going to pull him out of the car. And Heenan says, well, you woke him up again. Stan, you got to be quiet and, quit passing that gas. And Stan says, well, I'm not sleeping. I didn't know. So they go about 15 miles down the thing and Stan's back there sleeping again. Heenan gives him another one. Mosca slams on the brakes, pulls over, and he yanks Stan out of the back seat. He gets up and pow!
He punches
him. And they had to pick him up, and finally Bobby got him up and threw him back in the car, and he was laying back there. So now Angela's just steaming, and Stan's hurting back there, nose is bleeding, and they go about another 40 or 50 miles, and they're almost home, and he does it again.
Oh my God.
The brakes go on. Stan's out. He drags him out by the feet. He hits the ground, jumps up, and bam, he gets another one. Back into the car he goes.
My God.
Yeah. He was relentless at Heenan.
Gee.
You didn't want to be around him. He always would get somebody.
Man, I didn't know he was a huge ripper like that.
Oh, huge.
I knew he was funny.
Oh, he'd go, when they're doing interviews, he'd go behind there. Somebody, did you hear what he really said about you? Holy Christ, he's going to do this. He's really pissed at you. You're going to get your ass kicked. And the guy goes out there and he's all fired up. Or before the match, he would get the guy all wound up. Oh, he was classic.
What a button pusher.
Oh, he'd get the referees too.
Would he?
He was relentless. I mean, you just were afraid to be around him. We were down in Florida, and we all bought some places. A friend of ours just built these new town apartments and condos, and I bought one on the 7th floor, and then I ended up buying the one on the 10th floor on the other building, and we'd rent them out all the time, and then oh God, there was about 8 wrestlers that had them down, and we all bought into this thing. A friend of ours came to us and said, hey, he went to all the wrestlers, and we bought about 8 or 12 of them, whatever we bought. So we're down there, and everybody's there at the same time, and everybody had quite a few drinks. And Heenan, I don't know if I can tell this one or not. He got the girls all wound up. He had my wife. He goes down, he knocks on the door. She hadn't come up yet, and he says, "Hey, we're having the party up there, and Greg's up there coming up, and all the other people, and we're all dressed up in our underwear and bras or whatever." And if you can put on a funny little costume in that kind of an outfit and come on up, wear the robe up there so you don't see you coming up in the elevator. And then when we open the door, take that robe off and come on in like everybody else. And I didn't know. Nobody knew he did this. So
yeah.
My wife, she goes along with it. She comes up, knocks on the door, and comes walking in, takes the robe off, and everybody's, what the hell's going on with you? She was so damn mad.
I bet.
Killed him. She went after him to throw him off the balcony on about the 7th floor. Oh, she was pissed. But that's the kind of shit he would do to people.
My God.
Constantly. Yeah, he came down dressed up like he was in the costume deal, and he's, yeah, we're all up there.
We're all up there just partying down. Party
time. All girls are in their underwear and their bras, and
everybody hang on out.
Oh, Jesus, was she mad?
Well, my God. So obviously,
he was a classic. There was nobody like him.
I grew up with him as commentator, WCW and a little bit of WWF, obviously. So like when he was a manager, it was a little bit before my wrestling fan. But did you guys ever have the temptation in AEWA to put him on commentary at any point in time, or was it just, hey, he's such a good
no,
manager?
I mean, he was so, he was working with, Bockwinkel and Stevens, and
Yeah.
he was such a great interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, even on his interviews, he those poor announcers never knew what was going to come out of him, and they'd be doing an interview, and all of a sudden he'd throw something out there. Hey, did you see what happened to Gagne's wife down there in Florida? She came bouncing into the, he'd just throw it out there on TV.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, that Gagne family, they're a little different. He would say that he would stay, but he would pick out little things about everybody. And when he'd go on his interview, he'd use that.
Yeah.
And it was, it was real things. So it really was what you were like. And boy, guys would get so hot.
That's what I was gonna. So
he was a great, once he got away from being the manager and doing the TV. I mean, he's so quick-witted.
Oh,
he was like that. He came up with stuff that, he'd get everybody going.
Yeah.
Even if you were mad at him in the ring and you wanted to knock he'd do something to just ruin your whole thought and what you wanted to do.
Throw you off.
He would just get you off.
Mm-hmm.
And it was constant.
Is there anybody he like really drove nuts back there, like in AWA? That is like,
everybody. Nobody was safe.
Yeah. How about
Nick, Nick, he wouldn't. Nick, he never did.
Never.
But he would, when we were doing interviews, he'd go back and say, geez, did you hear it over on the side? I heard him talking. To hear what they said about you? That you're, this, and this, and you really perform. The guy would come up, I'm going to kill that son of a bitch. He would get him so wound up. And then we do interviews from 9 a.m. till, 6, 7 o'clock at night. Because we had all those different markets we had to do them for.
Yeah, right.
We'd have lunch brought in. We had, Heenan and his group be over there. We'd be over there. And he would get everybody so freaking wound up. It's just, and you never knew.
Yeah.
He was insane.
How was his dynamic with Vern?
Well, it was pretty good. I mean, Vern knew how valuable and loyal he was to the AWA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When Vince started taking talent, he hit the AWA hard first.
Yes.
And the first one was Hogan.
Right.
And, we're going to take over the world. And Hogan walked out on a lot of matches. I mean, all these main events coming up and he doesn't show. And, he was with New York, and floundered there. And that's when I saw him and told him to come to the AWA and we'd work with him.
Right.
And the rest is history. But he was the first one to walk out. And then we had the Crockett's had great talent. Everybody had great talent. We were doing our area, our territory was bigger than anybody else's.
Right.
We were from Montreal to the West Coast, the AWA was huge, and we had the big arenas, and we had, the mid ones too. And we had a lot of really good top talent.
Yeah.
And we were moving in a direction with TV that was going to put us, on the network.
Right.
And Vince hit us hard, and because Hogan had been there, he started calling our guys, and they would not show up for the main event.
Yeah.
And wouldn't say a thing.
Right.
So then you lose your credibility with the fans, and pretty soon the fans are going.
Right. It's like
even my partner, Brunzell.
Yeah.
We were wrestling in Winnipeg against the Road Warriors championship match.
Mm-hmm.
Sold out. He doesn't show. Last minute, I have to take Steve Olszanowski as a partner, and the people are mad.
Yeah.
When we got our asses kicked,
Yeah.
So, it didn't leave a very good taste for the fans. And
Mhm.
then we'd go to Denver and he would grab whoever was in the main event, they would grab them ahead of time and they wouldn't tell anybody they were gone. They would just go and not show up.
Mhm.
And now you have to, who are you going to throw in there in the main event with whoever your opponent was. So
Right.
it was really, it was devastating, and then from that time on, then he started, once he took care of us, then he started hitting all the other territory. He probably grabbed a few of them before that, but we were really targeted.
Well, I know too, like obviously he took so many big names from you guys, like from Hogan, obviously, and Mean Gene, Jesse Ventura, like a lot of names got scooped up and everything.
Adrian Adonis.
Adrian Adonis. Yeah.
Adrian, one thing about Adrian,
Mhm.
he told us he was leaving.
Did he? Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was two people that did, Bobby Heenan and Adrian Adonis.
So how long did Bobby hang on until he eventually left?
Oh God, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, he hung in there,
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
he fulfilled his commitments before he left,
Sure. Yeah.
and so did Adrian.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other ones didn't, boy, and they would hit the main event ones.
Yeah.
So it was devastating, and then the people you lose your credibility, and pretty soon you lose everything. And you got
Yeah.
to bring in people that aren't programmed to be in a main event yet, aren't ready for it, and they're not giving them the kind of matches that they're used to.
Right.
And I mean, in the AWA and the Crockett organization and the Bill Watts, and the Hearts, I mean, those were the areas that were really, the matches were really solid
Yes.
and the
Yeah.
talent was really good.
Right.
And down in Texas, with Joe Blanchard and Fritz von Erich,
Yeah. The world
and in
class stuff. Yeah.
Florida with Eddie Graham,
Mhm.
I mean, Eddie Graham, my dad were good buddies, and Bill Watts and my dad, well, all of them, Bob Geigel, Bob never really had as good a talent. He had good talent, but not the, he was more of the people would go in there and when they got good, then they went somewhere else.
Right.
But Bob was really a good promoter.
Where was Bob based out of?
Kansas City.
He was Kansas.
And
Okay.
he did well. Eddie Graham, developed a lot of people. The Hearts developed a lot of people. Joe Blanchard,
Yeah.
down in Texas.
Mhm.
And, it just, when you look back on it and you start talking about it, I really get kind of sad,
Yeah, I imagine, right?
and I watch the WWE and I appreciate what they've done for wrestling.
Mhm.
It's worldwide. And, I mean, they go to Ireland and they go to Germany and they sell out the buildings, and it's
Right.
fantastic for the sport.
Mhm.
And like Vern used to say, it's Americana. Wrestling
Yes.
is, you can't hurt it. You can't kill
No.
it,
Mm.
and people love it.
Right.
I did notice that last week after WrestleMania that their ratings went down a little bit,
Mhm.
but that's going to happen,
For sure. Yeah.
especially with a lot of the territories had certain times of the year that were really good.
Mhm.
Like for us, the AWA, it started in about the end of September after kids were in school till the end of April. And that's when we went balls out because the buildings were rocking and rolling and they were full.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
May came around and they had nice weather up here,
Yeah.
people are now outdoors and they're not in there watching that TV. So, I mean, we'd still have the major cities. We'd do really well, good, sometimes really well, but not as often. In the wintertime, those babies were sold out,
Right. Right.
and everybody not in Florida, their hot time was the summertime.
Mhm.
That's when they
Yeah.
were hot.
Yeah. I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and everybody's territory was like that. They had certain times of the year they were much better. And now the WWE, depending on where they're going, if they're going to new areas, they're probably going to draw well.
Mhm.
But if they're going to the places they go standardly in the summertime, especially up in the Midwest, they may not do as well. They might not fill them up.
It's a good
But
point. Yeah.
again, if they're only going into Chicago or Milwaukee once or twice a year, and they go in the summertime, they'll probably still draw pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because, but we had to go in there every month,
It's
to
a
make
big
sure.
market, Yeah.
And when that summer hit, man, that's why Vern gave us he gave us May and the first 2 weeks of June off every year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes you'd go to the end of June.
It's like a school year, basically. Hey,
Yeah.
summer
But,
break.
there was no reason in running your guys ragged. Give them time off. Let them recuperate.
Yeah.
April was a big month for us.
Well, nowadays too, WWE is kind of veering away from the live events stuff, where it's more they're focusing on your big PLEs and making the big events kind of the thing, and they've kind of tightened up on touring live, like for
they should. I mean, that's if they can run monthly or or every 6 weeks with a big event, but they got to keep the talent going somehow to pay those big. Maybe now they don't because they got so much money coming in.
They got a lot of money cooking.
And they got the guys under contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little easier to know where you are and what you need to do. And if the big events can sell out and those pay-per-view numbers are huge, they're making a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
And they are, and they've done I got to give them credit. They've done a great job.
Right. They have.
I get, we all get a little pissed off.
Sure.
On how it all went down.
Mm-hmm.
But you've seen what they've done with it and how they've built our sport worldwide, which we all would like to have done.
You're right.
But nobody would do that because the guys all had handshakes and agreements. They wouldn't step on each other. Vince didn't give a shit about anybody, and he stepped on everybody.
It's funny. I can't remember. Did you watch any of the Netflix documentary about Vince?
Yeah, I've watched him, and I get so mad.
Yeah.
There's so much BS. And listening to him, I probably watched, I don't know, 5 or 6 episodes back ways, but I didn't, I just didn't really watch them. I would listen to him, but not. Now I'm listening to him more and listening to him and his arrogance. I mean, he can't help it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's got to be what he did, what I did, what my father did.
Yeah.
He stepped on his father. His father didn't want him to do that.
Yeah.
Eventually he did, but not at first.
Mm-hmm.
But then, it pisses us off because we were all hurt by it.
Sure.
All these people that built them, the Bob Geigels, the Bill Watts, the Crockett's, Eddie Graham, Stu Schwartz. Stu Hart. Stu Schwartz. Yeah. Stu Schwartz was a friend of ours. Stu Hart. And the Von Erich. Everybody that put their life into professional wrestling were being destroyed by an arrogant prick.
Well, the thing is, too,
there you have it. Sorry, fans.
No, people like getting the heat on Vince for sure. I think when I only watched probably 2 or 4 episodes. I can't remember how many I watched of it, but you could tell how in the bubble Vince was, where it's just he surrounded himself by people that would follow his lead and and he would control the narrative. You looked at from all the documentaries that got released over time under the WWE banner, it was all slanted in WWE's favor. And sure, to the victor goes the spoils, basically, of hey, you control how history is told. And even heel John Cena has said that on WWE programming too. And it has to be a very kind of frustrating aspect because it's Vince is the head honcho and the big figurehead and was for years because of he took over. He did everything and everything like that. I guess, Greg, what I wanted to follow up with too, I hear from a lot of people in the territory, like, of your era and certain things like that the way the business was going, and WWE taking over and going kind of global and making it a worldwide thing. It was basically a foregone conclusion that was going to happen in certain ways. Do you have a different argument or mindset of how the territories could have survived in a different manner than what it was, or was that the time changing kind of thing?
No, they couldn't. They couldn't get along.
Yeah.
Everybody had their own idea. Everybody's ego got in the way.
Right.
I know how to run it. Bill Watts had a way of running it. Vern had a way of running it. Eddie Graham had a way of running it. Even though they were all good friends and they all had, those three guys, and you throw in Bob Geigel and a couple others that I named before, they all had that philosophy, and that's why their territories did so well. And that's where, McMahon really targeted.
Right.
And they tried to get together. We try to bring everybody together, but they can't agree on who's going to call the shots.
Right.
And then when they leave, the Crockett's are going to do it one way, and this guy's going to do it another way, and Bill Watts going to do it that way. Ole Anderson's going to do for the Crockett's this way. And you just couldn't keep them together. And they wouldn't unify to say, okay, Bill Watts, you're in charge, or Ole Anderson, you're in charge. You're going to run it. You're going to call the first, or Vern Gagne, you're going to call the shots.
Yeah.
They just couldn't let themselves do that, and it was too bad, because wrestling should be where it's at today.
Yes.
It should be global. And like I said before, my Vern used to say, wrestling is Americana.
Right.
And not only here, but worldwide. People love it.
What do you think would have happened, hypothetically speaking, if Vince didn't undercut everybody, scoop up the talent, take it over, and make it more of this pop culture, mainstream aspect of it all? How do you think the wrestling world would have flourished in a different way? What do you think would have happened potentially?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't. Because TV expanded.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you got all this cable TV. So every promoter in the region or in their regions is going to try to get a cable deal.
Right.
Along with, their local deal. Like we had Sunday mornings in Minneapolis, 11 o'clock. We had the highest rated program on TV. The only one that beat us was 60 Minutes. We had a 64 share. They had a 65 share.
Yeah.
We had a 22 or 23 rating. And that was throughout almost all the AWA. But Vern had got on really strong TV stations and good time slots. And then when cable TV came on, it took a while for it to really develop to where it is today. Where when you want to go for your big event, here's where you have to go.
Yeah.
I got lost. My phone was starting to ring here.
I'm hearing it. Hollywood's calling you, Greg.
Oh yeah, it's my lawyer calling me.
Yeah.
On our Powertown company. So
oh boy,
they must have a question here. But anyhow, no, it would have been so hard because, again, when TV expanded the way it did, we got on ESPN, which was the first sports network.
Yeah.
So we were strong, but we didn't have the kind of time slot we really needed.
That was was that the primary issue for you guys with ESPN? Was the time slot, or because didn't the deal kind of happen too after you lost a lot of the talent that you had to?
Yeah, we lost. Vince had hit all our talent. We've been working on that ESPN for a long time. I mean, they came in and met with us, and we had Hulk there and we had all that, and boy, they were all excited about it. And then when we finally closed the deal, he's gone, and he's gone.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that really hurt. And if we would have had that, Vern wanted to use the talent from the other territories too to put them on ESPN, so they could bring in Hacksaw Duggan and whoever
Magnum
else they had,
TA.
Magnum TA against, or Flair against somebody else from another territory.
Yeah.
He wanted to build that would have built for everybody.
Right.
And he was willing to want to do that with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he got it. Then when he got it, people got pissed off and they didn't even want to listen to what the strategy was.
Right.
Bill Watts, send your two guys here. We'll put them on ESPN, build up their match. We'll plug your, when they're going to wrestle in Tulsa, and
How was
So-
Vern's philosophy when he had the deal and he was willing to do that stuff? I hear so many times, and you kind of mentioned it too, like how a lot of the promotions would be thinking about, like, well, I got to protect my guys and my company in certain ways.
Yeah.
What was Vern's thought process on, hey, like, I'm just using this as an example. We're going to bring in Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and we're going to have him beat, I'm just using this as an example too, Kurt Hennig. Would Vern be open to something like that, or what was his thought process?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was going to have the people send in okay, so the Crockett's, they've got the Anderson brothers wrestling. What was a team down there that was Rock and Roll Express?
Yeah, Rock and Roll Express.
Okay,
Yeah.
So let's bring them both in for a few weeks so they can get established on ESPN and then plug their match coming up.
Yeah.
And then have another, maybe Watts sends in a couple of his people and you put them in.
Yeah.
But you build up your talent that way on ESPN, and then locally they still have their own show going where they're promoting it. Now they look bigger than life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was the whole thought process about it, but they couldn't agree on who would be in charge because they're afraid, they're going to steal our talent. They're going to do this. One day after we got in the meeting, the Crockett started trying to sign a couple of our people.
Oh my gosh. Dang it.
So you couldn't make it work. Everybody's ego got in the way.
That's what's a fascinating aspect about it. Because if you think about it, if the Crockett's were able to take a step back and be like, oh yeah, let's give the Andersons and Rock and Roll Express up there for a couple weeks, have them be on the program. Hey, not only does that get notoriety for, that your territories and build up an event.
They're building up their match coming up in Charlotte.
In
a month.
But heck, you're also getting eyes on that, and then potentially the Crockett's are opening themselves up for maybe a different television deal somewhere else. I don't know.
That's what they did. Yeah. I mean, then they all wanted, then they just couldn't, their egos got in the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's all, when it comes down to it, that's what it's all about.
And
if you look and Vince McMahon, what got in the way? His ego. Where is he? Where is he now?
Exactly. His ego got the best of all.
Got the best of him.
For
and
sure.
he was right in a way, because you couldn't bring these people together. They couldn't work together.
Yeah.
Because of egos.
Right.
And he made promises to people and brought them in, and started hitting everybody's talent and just picking them off.
Oh man.
And Hogan, he was recruiting our guys.
Yeah.
I still like the Hulk, he was very influential in helping get this whole thing going.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was the guy.
Yeah.
And then you look back and then listen to Eric Bischoff talking on the Vince McMahon stuff.
On the
documentary. It's all I. He couldn't do shit. And I hope he hears that. He couldn't get to Hogan. He came to me and said, how do I get Hulk Hogan? And I said, well, I can get a hold of him. And he said, yes. I called Hulk and I said, would you be interested in coming? Well, what are they going to do for me? So I went back to him. I said, I can get you Hogan, but here's what I want. I want a little piece of what he gets.
Of what Hogan gets?
Yeah, of his merchandise or whatever you want to. Yeah, but I want a percentage for getting him for you.
Yeah.
He says, what was the guy's name? Who was running it at the time? He
Well,
said, I'll talk to him. Who?
it wasn't Jim Hurd, right?
No,
Not
it
Jim.
wasn't Jim
No,
Hurd. No,
who
no,
was? Oh, well, Watts was there for a hiccup.
it wasn't Watts. No.
Um,
Watts was there when I was there.
I know who you're. I think I know the name, but it's
I can't think of it. He worked for Turner. I mean, he
yeah.
worked for Turner's.
Was it
And
Kip something? Kip something?
no, I'll think of it here in a little bit. But I said, get that for me. And
Yeah.
this was on a Friday, and I go home on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was the week before we started it. And I said, there is interest. And he said, well, can I call him? I said, no, I'll call him. Just tell me, tell me what the deal is, what you want. I'll get him here. But here's what you have to do for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to look out for myself in this thing.
Yeah.
So the following week, I get fired. I come into the office. I go home for the weekend. I come home, and here's a big banner up, "Welcome Hulk Hogan." And I said, "What?" I went in and I said, "What?" They signed Hulk Hogan. And I
Yeah.
can't find Bischoff. And then when I did find him, he fired me. So honest to God, I told my wife, when I go back down there, I'm going to throw him right out that 14th floor window. So I may not be coming back.
Wow.
He wasn't there and didn't show up. So somehow he got the number, got a hold of Hogan. They brought him in and signed him. And I came back Monday morning, and there was the big sign.
Man.
And then he took all the bows for everything.
Well, you think about it too. At the time, Hogan, that act was kind of stale. Like it was past the point. It's sell date in a lot of ways. I mean,
Right.
as a kid, like when I was like 1991, 90, I was a Hogan fan. But even at that juncture, I know the ardent fans and the older fans were kind of okay. We get Hulk.
No, it worked good for him. It worked good for
Yeah.
him, and it worked good for Turner Broadcasting for
Yeah,
a while.
for a little bit.
But the thing Vern had that I think Bill Watts had from him, Ole Anderson, Eddie Graham had it, a few others, is how to lay it out down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And we would work from the end back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Here's where we're going to go with this. How do we get there? Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And Hogan coming in there and being a heel really ramped that thing up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But they really didn't know how to keep it going for long run.
No, they didn't. No.
And eventually they lost everything.
Well,
but again, it's who's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, Eric did a good job. He got the thing going. He got the ratings up, and he did all that.
Yeah.
And if you ask him, he'll say it was he, and I did it, and he did, with the help of Turner's money. But not knowing how to really operate professional wrestling and your talent, how to control the talent, because the talent will tell you what they want to do.
Sure.
And if you go that direction, it's not going to work out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it didn't for them. And that's where they're flawed. That's where it hurt them. He didn't know long run how to keep the thing going.
For sure. I think part of it too is like you look at you had stars that you were building and creating newer ones. Like, I mean, obviously Sting was an established star, but they changed him with the Crow gimmick. It made him really cool and mysterious. And the payoff never really happened. At Starrcade 97. And so it was kind of like a letdown in certain ways.
It's called, what they used to call it in wrestling was hot shotting.
Yeah.
But hot shotting doesn't get you down the road. If you want longevity, you can't hot shot. You can do it once in a while, but can't do it all the time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
Instead of building nice storylines to keep them going, it was hot shotting, hot shot. And pretty soon you have no more hot shots.
No more hot shots.
No more hot shots, and you're off TV.
And that happens a lot. That happened a lot with WCW. They did a lot of hot shotting nearing the end.
Just watch their stuff. Yeah.
And I think too, to an extent, Greg, in a certain way, AEW is kind of like that, where it's now. I
Well,
think that Tony
he-
Khan, he has his own thought process with it, and I think too much though. Some of the times he takes a lot of the creative input from the wrestlers themselves, and
Yeah.
so there's the balance of him having a one-track mind and almost tunnel vision of how he perceives wrestling should be portrayed. But then you also have these influences of like, hey, this is how I want this storyline to run, and this is how I want this storyline to go, where there's no cohesive delegation or anything like that. I think that's the huge issue that with AEW that they run into too a lot of times.
Well, when Vern brought me into the business and he said, what you can't do
Mhm.
is you can take the wrestlers will always come up and say, hey, we got to do this, this, or this.
Sure.
Listen to them and pick out what idea really think you work.
Mhm.
And then you work that.
Yes.
Don't let them dictate how to do it, because
Yeah.
they're only looking out for themselves and not for the entire business and how it works and how you lay it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, that was, wrestlers who come in and hotshot it, but you know what? They'll come in and they get a year or 2 year run and then they're out of there.
Right. Right.
You
And
know,
then they
because
move on.
Vern knew how to keep his talent going. I mean, that's why, guys like Bachmichael and Stevens, those guys, when they got to the AWA, they didn't want to leave.
I bet.
And they drew money the whole time. They'd be
Yeah.
there, 5, 6, 10 years, 12
Yeah.
years.
Well,
These other places, they would come in and hotshot it, and the guys are eating up in a year and a half or 2 years. And then they go somewhere else, leave the promoter there high and dry, but they get another run at the other place, and they'll do the same stuff they did back in Charlotte that they're going to do now in Florida. But Eddie Graham wouldn't do that.
yeah.
He always saw the long range program. And that's where Dusty got all his training from, was Eddie Graham.
Eddie Graham. Right.
and what Dusty did for the business was phenomenal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But he knew how to operate it, in the long run. So
Well, here's a follow-up. So, Vern had his philosophy in wrestling and everything.
Yep.
Obviously, he created and trained so many stars and stuff like that. How do you think if he stuck with it, the times changing, obviously, with WWE, NWO, Hogan turning heel, a lot of this Attitude Era stuff coming into play. Do you think Vern would have been able to see ahead and kind of make that adjustment to stay in the business and kind of be one of those kind of figureheads, or do you think he would have had a harder time
he
adjusting?
wouldn't do it because he wouldn't step on the toes of his friends.
Yeah, but hypothetically, in the perfect world, yeah, in the perfect world, if things were copacetic, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't think he could.
Yeah.
If he was surrounded with the right people, he would always listen, but he'd make the final decision.
Right.
But when it got down to when they started doing what they were doing, we were losing office people. We were losing, McMahon was taking everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was so hard on him at his age. And, he was probably starting, eventually Alzheimer's came in.
Sure, yeah.
But it was so much pressure on him to keep the thing going. That was what I think really hurt his health and everything else.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Vern was always a winner and he didn't want to lose to anybody.
That competitive mindset.
Sure. I mean, he was a competitor.
Yeah.
So Bill Watts was like that. Eddie Graham was like that. And they were in their time, there was nobody better.
Yeah.
When all that went down, they were so set in the way they did things that none of them could. I mean, that's why Vince took over.
It is.
And he knew that.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps answer some questions.
No, I think it does.
That's my only philosophy and thoughts about it, because I knew all those people and how they were.
Right.
And they were, and the Crockett's, they thought they could hang in there with them with their money, but they couldn't.
They couldn't do it.
Turner
Yeah.
thought he could hang in there with his money, and they couldn't. They didn't
couldn't.
have the right
Yes,
people.
hated wrestling. Like the suits, the
Oh,
higher.
well, they did. Yeah, they didn't like it.
They didn't
Ted
like
loved
wrestling.
it.
Yeah.
And, if you had the right people in there running it, they probably would have given a really good hard run, but they hot-shotted it.
Yeah.
They hot-shotted it and it went good for about 3 years and then boom, because they didn't know where to go with it.
Yeah.
Because Eric didn't know, and he was letting the wrestlers dictate to him what should be going on.
It's yeah. It's ooh.
So, I mean, that's what my thoughts on it, my philosophy. Maybe I'm just hot air, but
One last question with it. Was there almost like a good right-hand man that could have took the mantle from Vern and kind of continued his philosophy in the wrestling business and makes
I think he was hoping I would,
yeah.
but I was still on the road a lot, but I was always in the booking sessions and all that, and I'd throw out my ideas, and I wouldn't very seldom came up with ideas for myself or Jim and I. We had guys like Bockwinkel and Stevens in there in the booking, and they would throw in their ideas, we'd throw ours in, and then Vern would get the final say on everything and how it goes down.
Yeah.
But you had people with great minds in there doing it. There's every wrestler thinks he's a booker.
Right. Yeah.
But they're not.
No.
They're a booker for themselves.
Yes.
And that's why he had these veterans in there with him that all made money. Ray Stevens was phenomenal. And man, he could, we'd throw out an idea, he'd have an idea, and boy, we'd all get fired up and then we'd put it all together.
Yeah.
And Bobby Heenan was in on the booking.
Yeah. Oh man, he would be a good one.
And he would come up with shit.
Yeah.
He'd be out there a little bit and you have to reel him in, but it was always good.
It was always good stuff.
It was always good. A lot of us did that. We threw it out there and sometimes we were way out of line, but then with the other people there, all these veterans, they would help meld it together. And then Vern would take it all the way out.
Yeah. Man.
So
fascinating stuff. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it was like Hogan, he wanted this, he wanted that. And Vern said, no, not now.
Yeah.
But Hulk wanted it. And that's when Vince went to him, he wasn't getting what he wanted from Vern, even though we built him because he was horrible in New York when he had his run there, when he first started. And I found him and I said, come to the AWA. And I told him he's going to, you're getting a call. It took him 3 months to call.
Yeah.
And Vern helped him with his comebacks and his interviews. And Jim and I worked 6-man tag team matches so he could get the flow in the ring. And then, he wanted the title. He wasn't ready for it with Vern's style.
Yeah.
Down the road, we were building for him in April, which was always our biggest one.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to tell him. Vern wouldn't divulge what we were doing.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He wouldn't, we knew, but we couldn't tell anybody. Just relax, things will work out. So we had to have these matches that were selling out with him and Bachman. When he wasn't winning the title, he was getting pissed. He wanted to be the champion. He wasn't, but if he had just hung in there till April, we'd have blown the roof off the thing. And Vince would have had a real tough time after that.
Yeah. Right.
Because we had another big TV deal coming in that Hogan didn't know about. It was with one of the networks.
Yeah.
Wanted to do one of those big Saturday night deals.
Oh man.
They came to us first. Or maybe they came to McMahon, but they came to us.
Yeah. Wow. How about that?
Yep. And if Hogan would have just waited till April, things would probably be different today.
Right.
But it wasn't meant to be.
Not meant to be.
I mean, you get fired up thinking about it because it was my life too.
Yeah.
And he ruined a lot. It ruined a lot of lives, but it made a lot of good for a lot of people. And they've taken wrestling to where everybody wanted it to go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Worldwide.
And I think it's too in hand like a blessing in a lot of ways that it's under Triple H's watch because
Yeah, it
like
is. Triple
he's
H
like
is
because you think about it, like you go back 5 years and Vince is still ruling everything and making rash decisions and really, really bad booking decisions and like really kind of damaging the product overall. And that opened the door for AEW to kind of come in and hey, look at we're an alternative. But then we've seen unfortunately how AEW has kind of handled things. But thankfully, Triple H back into the thing and has kind of corrected a lot of the course. Now, obviously, you're going to have your hiccups here and there. And
well, you are, but he's still done
he
a
still
phenomenal
knows what
job.
he's doing.
Yeah, he really has. I give him all the credit in the world. You know, Shawn Michaels is down there training the kids. They got a good trainer down there. You know, with
it's a good run ship. It's good that there's wrestling minds in charge.
It is, and they're good. You know, in their day. I mean, I remember Triple H came to Atlanta when I was down there.
Yeah, for WCW.
I was only with him for I don't know, a short time. And I was trying to get him out of that Hemsley. What was his name?
They were terrorizing. He was terrorizing down there.
No, Hemsley.
Oh, but he was what was it? Because Hunter was it Hunter Helmsley down there too?
Or was it and I was trying to figure out a way to get him away from that. But he had been working with Killer Kowalski, and I didn't know if he had given him that or he got it. And I just couldn't get a feel for where he was going with that character, that personality.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem like him.
Yeah. Because he had the blue blood thing going on.
Yeah. And I wanted to get him away from that, but he left. You know, but I saw him, I'm like, God, what a stud this guy is. And I don't feel the character he's projecting is what the people want to see.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get to him soon enough and sit down and talk to him because we had everybody else there and working with everybody. But I kept thinking, what can I do with this guy? That's not his character, his personality. Yeah. I want to just sit down and say, you know what, guys, what really is successful is when you let your real personality come out, who you really are.
Yeah.
Once you do, that's what Vern said, be yourself. When that real personality comes out, that's when you be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
and he found it. He found it later on.
He had that little edge and that cockiness and arrogance.
That sense of humor.
He had the body, and he had everything going for him.
Absolutely,
and still has.
Still does it too. Yeah, he knows what he's doing for sure.
Yeah, he really does, and he's got a good.
That's the cool thing.
I think he's surrounded himself with a real good staff too.
He has. He's pulled from all aspects of wrestling too.
Yeah.
Like, he's a student of the game. He gets obviously the entertainment aspect of it all, but then he pulls from like classic stuff too. And it's neat that he's carrying on the legacy of Killer Kowalski and a lot of different people.
It really is. Yeah, I'm happy he is. I'm happy he's in charge.
Absolutely. A couple super chats here. We'll get Triple E's got several questions here, and then we'll close on out.
Who does? Triple H?
Triple E.
Triple E. Triple H maybe heard and he was calling in.
He says, any weird food combos you had on wrestling road trips?
Oh, God. Only when I was with the little Mexican wrestlers.
Yeah, they come up with some stuff.
Never knew what you're going to get in that taco.
No.
That real hot sauce. Oh, this is really good. You're going to love it. And boy, your eyes are watering.
Man.
But that's about the only one I can think of. We always ate pretty well, though, in the big cities.
I bet. Oh, man.
We had our High's restaurant in Winnipeg was phenomenal, and the owner there and his wife were terrific to us. And they'd close it down, and we'd be in there, and they'd bring out some of the greatest food in the world. And we'd sit there and eat and drink wine with them all night.
Oh, man.
And in Denver, Gene Reed, the promoter there, he always said, now tonight where we're going. And he'd take you to a really good restaurant, but then he wouldn't pick up the check.
Jeez, oh no.
Yeah.
Vern, you got this, right?
Yeah. In Chicago, we had a couple places we went down there, and being on TV there, we wrestled up on the north side, so it was hard to get. You didn't want to go downtown, after the matches because, yeah. So we had a couple places out there that we went. Everybody always treated Milwaukee was good. Green Bay was good.
Oh man, yeah.
Green Bay was fun, especially during football season.
Oh, I believe that, right? That's all they have up there, basically. Is the Packers.
When wrestling first went into Green Bay, I think they sold out for, I think it was 5 years straight.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, not knowing what the card was coming up, they would buy tickets for the next one. And during football season, when the Packers played there, they were all over tailgating, going to the Packers game, and then they'd come over to the arena. We'd start at 7:30. And my God, wild crew.
Wild.
So wild. But they were excellent. They were the greatest fans. And we had really good fans. Milwaukee was good. Green Bay, Chicago, Denver was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Especially for Jim and I for some reason. But I think because I played football up at Wyoming, and they kind of, and Vern was big at it in Denver. But oh my God, we had some matches out there.
Man, yeah.
We had a full-fledged riot. Maybe 4 or 5 minutes into the match, 6 minutes.
Seriously?
Yeah, never a punch or kick thrown. It was Bockwinkel and Stevens against Jim and I with Bobby Heenan in their corner.
Ooh.
Tied up. They got a top wrist lock on us, pulled us by the hair. Down we went. We got up, just going to get out of it. Heenan would jump up, pull you by the hair down. 8 minutes. We wrestled like 8 minutes in a top wrist lock, and we had a full-fledged riot.
My gosh. That's
People
awesome.
coming in the ring.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Never a punch or kick thrown, just a top wrist lock, hair pulling and pulling
That's
your
it.
thing.
Simple stuff.
Yep. Isn't it?
Yep.
That's fans. And I'll tell you, that Denver auditorium, the old auditorium, when the building would just go woof, woof, and your adrenaline, I got goosebumps just talking about it. It would just, oh my God, you could jump higher. It was phenomenal.
Man. Yeah, I bet Denver was a blast of it.
Oh, they all were good. Even San Francisco took us a while to build that up because they had been hurt there so bad. But even there, San Francisco, I mean, every place we wrestled was good.
That was the Cow Palace? Was that the Cow Palace over there?
Cow Palace and Salt Lake City was fantastic.
Yeah.
We opened that up. That was great. Yeah. I mean, it was a big territory.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
You know, we wrestled up in Montreal and Winnipeg. And Winnipeg was another one. You know, people standing outside 35 below zero, and it was sold out, and they were trying to get in the building.
Man.
Tickets were gone. We turned people away.
That's bonkers.
It was phenomenal. You know, it was, you can't even describe to people what it was like back then. You know, especially for us in the AWA.
Yeah.
You know, these big arenas and big towns, and going into Winnipeg, 35 below zero, and people are breaking windows trying to get into the arena, breaking the doors.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then they would be out there when you came out. Stay there until they found out the results.
Jeez.
I mean, it was greatest fans in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a different era than today. And it was a fun era to live in and wrestle in. Yeah, it really was.
Oh, no doubt. Triple E asks another question. Any moves you created that never made it to AWA TV? Was there any moves you innovated, Greg?
I used all of them. Whatever we had, we used it whenever we could. We weren't the biggest guys in the world, so we had to use everything Vern taught us and a whole lot more.
And a whole lot more, right?
And whatever else anybody else taught us, we used it all.
You gotta live up to the
matter if it was TV or where it was. If it came to us and we could get it on, we would do it.
The high flyer mentality. Triple E also asked earlier in the chat.
You had to have that.
You had to have it. How is Statler doing without Waldorf again? Talking about you and Magnum, Statler and Waldorf, the old Muppets in the
old Muppets. How we doing?
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Doing just fine.
Yes.
You know, TA's on the road today, taking his wife to the Duke University for a little checkup.
Yep.
And he let the two of us go wild here today and tell stories and have fun. And we hope it was entertaining.
We'll close it out with this.
The Muppets are doing just fine.
Yeah. The Muppets are they're okay. Triple E asks if Greg made a movie, what would it be about? And if Dom was casted, what would his role in Fate be in the movie? So,
I'd want
Greg,
to be
you
in
had
a
to make a
Western.
movie. What would
I'd
it
want to
be?
be in a Western.
Western. Okay, I like it.
Yep.
All right.
John
Now,
Wayne type.
yes, I love
My
Western.
little buddy.
Is that what I'd be?
You'll be my little
I'd be the
sidekick.
deputy. What would I be?
I used to love John Wayne. I still watch all the Westerns.
I love Westerns.
There's
I
one
love,
show on right now we're watching. Gosh, I wish Laura was here to tell me that. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, Canyon. Something Canyon.
oh, okay.
On
Is it
Netflix.
Laurel Canyon or something? Is that what it's called?
Darn it. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's really hard to follow.
Is it?
It's like it's a little bit like Yellowstone.
Uh-huh.
They're trying to, but they jump from one thing to another, and nothing's ever laid out on the thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we watched it for 6 episodes now, and we keep saying, why are we still watching this thing? We're waiting for something to fold out.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Yellowstone was one of my favorites.
I hear great things. I haven't
Oh,
watched.
in 1889 with Harrison Ford.
Oh, yeah. I hear that's great.
Oh, that's better than Yellowstone.
I love Harrison Ford, so I need.
Oh, you got to watch that series.
Yeah.
It is so fantastic.
All right.
They've done a great job with that. The writer, I can't remember what's his name. He's done a phenomenal job with those shows.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't remember what his name.
Oh geez. See, when you're not even up to 76 yet, where I am.
No,
I forget things.
No, I forget a lot of stuff.
You shouldn't.
I know.
No, how many bumps you been taking?
Oh, too many of my own. Just walking outside. See,
who's this one from here?
This is Charlie. So Charlie says, "I love the show as always, and always do. I love hearing the stories, Greg and Dom. Greg too. I'm a John Wayne fan. Loved El Dorado and the
Sons of Katie Elder. Those are two.
I love that.
I love them.
I hated that movie because D. Martin dies in it.
Oh yeah, but it's a great movie.
I know, but I love D. Martin.
Well,
so yeah, that's a good one though.
All those are great. I watch all the old ones all the time.
Rio Bravo, I like Rio Bravo.
Yeah. Well, how many people are we talking to today?
Not a whole lot today, but we got a good audience nonetheless. We don't have.
We got a good audience today.
We got a good crew chatting in here and everything. So
good.
But yeah, this was a great episode. Great guest.
First is guest. I mean, John has how many more dates left?
25 probably.
Okay.
25 appearances left. So not even wrestling.
Then they might do something where they leave it a little bit up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Randy's going to be the one to take it from him. If it's not this time, it'll be down the road before he quits.
You think Randy? Okay, I like it though. I like that thought process with it. Okay. Also on the card, we got what is it? Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria for the Intercontinental Championship. Becky just turned heel, so
I hope Becky.
Okay, so you think Becky?
I hope Becky.
Yeah. Oh, because we were talking about Lyra and how she needs a little bit more work. I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even Tiffany. They're pushing her hard.
Yep.
But she's last couple matches have been a little. And I've been a little uneasy with.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll put it that way.
Put it that way. Well, too, I think, I think she's kind of stuck in a hard place because, she's such a good heel that I think her going with Charlotte and then Charlotte getting the heat, but people also liking Tiffany at the same time since she's such a great character. I think it's putting her in a tough position. I think.
Well, it is. It's hard for her because when you're that young and she hasn't been in the business that long.
Yeah.
She is a natural heel.
Yeah.
She is. But the people have made her a baby face.
Yes.
And I think she doesn't know how to handle that yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just experience is all it is. They're all we were all like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Sure. So she, but she is an unbelievable talent.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
Once she has another year under her belt, boy, she's going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got it all. I mean, she's a good athlete, gymnast. Uh, if she listens well, which I think she is now,
Mm-hmm.
and but I think she's going to end up being a really hot heel for him.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You find the right baby face to go up against her
Yeah.
too. Man, you got some fire stuff going on
Yeah.
there. Her and Rhea Ripley, man, that would be
Woo.
something.
That
Yeah.
Ripley.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, I don't think she can handle her right now. I love her. Rhea Ripley to me is one of the best.
We also have
all the girls. I mean, they got such a strong roster of women.
yes,
The girls have really done a great job.
They have, and it's like, yeah, it's a matter of just giving them the proper amount of TV time and showcasing them the right way.
Yeah, showcase them right.
Yep. How about Pat McAfee taking on Gunther?
Well, you'd have to go with Gunther,
right?
But I think there's somehow, some way, it might be where somebody would have to interfere, where Pat would catch one on him.
Yeah, that could happen, right?
It could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'd like to see Pat win the thing somehow, some way.
Yeah.
That is believable.
Yes.
And that would have to be where somebody would have to interfere a little bit or cause Gunther to lose his concentration and he catches a quick one on him.
Yeah, something like, and you could further
and that's what I hope happens.
Yeah, that's kind of what I hope happens too, to be honest, because you can really perpetuate Gunther losing his mind and getting
and that makes Pat look good, and he keeps going and opens up the door for down the road for something else.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that, Greg. So let's go with that. Let's say Pat pulls an upset.
Let's say Pat.
Yeah.
Send Pat a message that I said you're going to win this match.
All right, I'll give him a call. He's from Pittsburgh, so I'll give him a ring.
Perfect.
Yeah. We have Jacob Fatu, who's your United States Championship, defending it in a fatal four-way against LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre.
You got to go with Fatu.
Oh, yeah. You got to go with Fatu.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a great four-way, though.
That is a good one.
It should be a really good, solid match.
Absolutely.
They'll beat the crap out of each other.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. And then finally,
that would be the most physical match of the night.
I would think so, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. How about Dominic Mysterio defending his Intercontinental Championship against Penta?
I want to say Dom.
Me too.
Yeah, I hope they go that way.
I hope they do too. I think they'll.
I mean, unless they're trying to build, the Mexican market with
Penta up, but
Dom has so much heat.
He does.
He does. They haven't had that much heat on somebody in a long time.
Yep.
And after he won the title and he had that little interview with him, he did a phenomenal interview. Just an arrogant little shit.
He's great.
Piss everybody off.
Oh my gosh, I love Dom.
My best friend called that he would win that title, and I said, "There's no way." And now that I saw it, and he had it, and that interview he did was as good as I've ever seen any. You want to kill the little shit.
I know, he's so fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it, but they did a little backstage video too where he's holding the title and he's like talking trash. And there's Scott Steiner, there's like Sami Zayn, and there's somebody else standing there. He's just talking trash to all of them. And Scott Steiner's like yelling back at him. It's great.
They got to leave it on him.
Oh, they definitely do. Yeah. There's so much you can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be a fun show. It's tomorrow, so Saturday. So there's everybody's little preview for
well, I hope I can tune into it.
Yes, me too. It should be a fun one, I think. I love 5 matches. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. Mm-hmm. That's it.
It is. I mean, when you have 8 or 10 matches on the card, it gets a little overwhelming. And if 2.5 hours is really where you can keep the people really focused in. When it starts to get longer than that, no matter who's coming out, they might get up for them, but they're burning out.
Absolutely.
The matches are that good.
Yes.
I mean, we used to run to 4 matches, in
Oh.
Denver, 4 matches.
That's it.
Give them a little over 2 hours, and man, they went home happy and they were back the next time.
That's it,
And
right?
then you get into those bigger events when you have 6 or 7 matches on there and they're long. You can feel the crowd at the end just starting to wither a little bit.
Yeah, and
You
it does
know?
it does a disservice to your main event, you
Yeah,
know?
it really does.
Mm-hmm. So,
But they
man,
got so much talent there and they got to keep it all busy because they're paying them all.
absolutely.
You got to
Yeah.
get them all on board.
Got to get them all in the mix somehow, one way or another.
Well,
So,
Dom, it was a good session, I think.
it was a good one. Yeah, we went a little
I
overtime.
hope we didn't bore the people too much.
I don't think so. I think this was one of our. Honestly, this was one of my favorite episodes we got to do because it's
Well,
just
good.
like
Well, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
cover
we
a
missed
whole lot
TA.
of things.
He'll be back next week.
We'll get him back on there. Yeah, yeah.
We got to get some of those road stories,
We
that we can tell.
Yes, they're the ones that we can divulge in, right?
Yeah, because we had a lot of great personnel that we rode in the cars with that broke us into the business, that pranks they pulled on us and what they were like in the car and what we would talk about.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was terrific.
I'm envious because it sounds like a blast, you know?
Yeah.
And,
Well, I hope the people come back and listen to us and we haven't bored them.
Nope, I don't think so. So, guys, if you like what you're watching, be sure to like, share, subscribe. 4horsemanNetwork.com. Obviously, we go here live every Friday at 4 p.m. We try to, but then also be sure to go and seek out the new YouTube channel, Gagne Magnum TA. Type it in; it should pop up on there, and subscribe that because that's where you'll get these episodes in full. Plus, you'll get all the clips on there too. So be sure to check that out and support the show. Help us out and get the word out. Also,
you know what I got today?
Huh?
I got 4 more sweatshirts.
You got 4 more? All right.
Yeah,
so
the hooded sweatshirts with the zip up.
Yes.
With the Pegasus on the back.
Hell yeah.
All my people are seeing them. We're going around town, and then where can we get them?
There you go.
Well, I keep forgetting where they can get them.
Well, now they at the moment they can't get them anywhere. So we gotta.
Oh, well, no wonder.
Well, now, so we gotta talk to Magnum. We gotta come up with a new game plan here. So
okay,
we'll bring the merchandise back here. But now it's at there's 4horsemanshop.com, and it just has Arn Anderson and 4 Horsemen merchandise. So we got to think of something else here.
All right.
So we'll get back on that though. If you guys want to listen to us on audio feeds, be sure to type in 4 Horsemen Network. We are on that. You can get full episodes, audio of this and Arn Anderson's show on there as well. So be sure to check that out as well. Give us 5 stars on there. Help out the show in that way too. So let's give some shout outs to some folks before we go. IG Nexus says Greg Gagne, the legend. We got
IG, thank you, buddy.
Scott Burke in the house. No, not right now. You can't Triple E, but we'll keep you posted on it. Ashley Williams says, thanks, Greg. Could listen to your stories all day.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yep. And CJ Artist just loves what we do on here too. So shout out to him. Triple E.
Tell
Darren
all your
Taylor,
friends and tell them to tune in.
Tell everybody. Matt Karcher, he said he chimes in. So thanks to everybody tuning in here. We appreciate everybody joining in and getting some feedback in here. So.
Yeah, get feedback from them. See what they want to hear about.
Absolutely. What you guys want to hear, be sure to hit me up on X at Dominic D'Angelo. You can follow Greg on Instagram at Gagne.Greg. So do that. He posts some fun AWA pictures, some classic photos and stuff. And so give us and follow Magnum at best probably to follow him on Instagram too, Magnum_TA. So be sure to give Magnum a follow too. So Greg, we'll have to do this again. It'll be nice to have Magnum back.
Thank you very much. Great job. Yeah. Great questions today.
Thanks. This was a fun one.
The fans like it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. We'll see you next time here on Straight Talk with the Boss. That's not Greg Gagne. He's a facilitator. The boss, Magnum TA.
Facilitator.
Facilitator.
Okay.
I like it.
One day I might be the boss.
One day.